What's up, fellas? In the second video of the day, we're going to be talking about some rumors from the trade deadline that we are now aware of. Some things that almost happened, what a couple of teams were planning on doing, what some of the offers out there were for some of the guys that ended up getting moved, like Aaron Gordon, like Nikola Vucevic, from other teams other than where they ended up. Just all kinds of little rumors. We're going to kind of wrap up. This will be the last piece of trade deadline content, as then we will move forward into the postseason and then eventually into the offseason and free agency as well. But really quickly before we get started, if you're new here, what's up? My name is Tucker. I upload NBA content on this channel twice a day, every single day. So it's a great place for consistent NBA content. If that's what you're looking for, then consider subscribing. You can also leave a like rating on the videos as well. And you check me out at various socials in a Linktree link in the description below. One more thing I want to mention, I will be going live tonight. You can see the link down below. I'll be hanging out with you guys if you guys want to come hang out. I do that at least 5 times a week, Monday through Friday, but a little surprise at Sunday stream if you guys want to hang out. Link is below. You can see it below me as well. Somewhere around 8 p.m. Eastern time is probably going to be the plan. With those things said, let's go and talk about some of these rumors. So first, we'll talk about Kyle Lowry overall and then also to the Lakers. So I was a little bit surprised that they didn't end up moving him yesterday, but it seems like they just didn't like the offers that were on the table, which makes sense because one of the teams that was potentially in the running for Lowry were the LA Lakers. And if the Lakers were in contention for Lowry, that means that the offers were not all that compelling to Toronto, because I was talking about this as we were streaming kind of during the day that day. They would have had to include like Schroeder and KCP just to make the money work, and then whatever other assets they wanted to throw in there, which is not all that compelling of an offer to me if I'm Toronto. Now, reportedly, the sticking point in the conversations was Talen Horton-Tucker. And the Lakers didn't want to give him up in a Kyle Lowry trade, and pending free agent, didn't know, if that was something they wanted to do in addition to 2 rotation guys in Schroeder and KCP. I understand that. But, I mean, Kyle Lowry is better than either KCP or Schroeder, so the only, question mark here would be the depth. Are you giving up too much depth in exchange for just one guy? I guess you could make that case. But I also, I don't blame Toronto for turning this offer down. Talen Horton-Tucker's fine. I'm not overly excited about that trade package, though. And ultimately, this isn't an Oladipo situation. They can be at least relatively confident that they have a good shot of retaining Kyle Lowry in the offseason if they want to, rather than, making a move and bringing in a longer-term contract of someone like KCP just to get Schroeder and Talen Horton-Tucker. So a little bit odd that that's how the negotiations broke down, but the fact that that was a competitive offer and the fact that the Lakers didn't include Talen Horton-Tucker and they still, I guess could have thought that they would get Lowry, makes me think that the offers weren't that compelling, and it makes sense that they decided to hold on to him. The other interesting thing here is as it relates to the Chicago Bulls, who were active yesterday, but were trying to be even more active than they were. So they got rid of Daniel Gafford, among others. They get back Troy Brown, among others. They got Daniel Tice. They got Nikola Vucevic. But also, in that trade with Washington, apparently, they initially were discussing sending Lauri Markkanen to Washington as well. The Wizards were interested. The problem was the Bulls asked for a first-round pick, and Washington was like, yeah, that's a little bit too much for us for Lauri Markkanen. Ultimately, I think that makes sense. I mean, they've already got Rui Hachimura there. Thomas Bryant, when healthy, is going to be the 5 there as well. And so, having to invest not only a pick, but then money in Markkanen in the offseason, when you already have someone like Hachimura there, who I think is fine, a decent player, didn't really seem to make a ton of sense, but it's interesting that those conversations happened. Also, as it relates to Lauri Markkanen, the Bulls tried to flip him in exchange for Lonzo Ball, which is an interesting, flip there, considering the fact that Markkanen is a restricted free agent, Lonzo is a restricted free agent, and both those guys could fit in relatively well. Markkanen providing front court spacing in New Orleans, potentially a long-term fit there with Zion. You could make that case. And then Lonzo kind of being a nice combo guard that fits at least relatively well with either LaVine or Kobe White. The problem was New Orleans wanted more. They thought Ball was better than Markkanen, and I think you could certainly make that case, and they wanted more than just a straight-up flip. Chicago decided, nah, we're just hang on to him, and now both those guys are going to be going into restricted free agency with their respective teams, and we're going to be keeping an eye on both of those guys. Some Celtic stuff here. You knew we had to get to Boston. We knew that they were going to be at least relatively active. They dumped Tice. They ended up getting Evan Fournier for a couple second-round picks, but they were in on both Nikola Vucevic as well as Aaron Gordon, as were a lot of teams reportedly. So Danny Ainge has come out and said that Marcus Smart was never offered in any deal specifically for Gordon or Vucevic. I'm going to choose to believe him on that. I don't know if I should, but I'm going to choose to believe him on that. However, they apparently had a competitive offer for Nikola Vucevic. It included multiple first-round picks, which is what Chicago ended up giving up. And they kind of made that offer, and they made an offer for Aaron Gordon as well that included a first and a young player. My assumption would be Romeo Langford, unless it's like Carson Edwards or something, which wasn't that competitive of an offer compared to what Denver ended up offering. And apparently they sent both of these out. And for the Gordon thing specifically, before they got a chance to counter anything else, Orlando just took the Denver offer, and they never even got back to Boston, which makes me think that maybe it was like a first in Carson Edwards and it wasn't that competitive of an offer. And Orlando was like, we're not going to waste time. We like this Gordon offer. Let's go ahead and take the one that we get from Denver, which is, Gary Harris, RJ Hampton in the first. But Boston was trying to be competitive, at least in both of these scenarios, but ultimately either did not offer enough or were not serious enough in the conversations, or Orlando just didn't want to work with Boston for whatever reason. But if you're a Celtics fan, just according to Danny Ainge, Marcus Smart was never on the table. There were some crazy rumors flying around up at the deadline. That was one of them. Maybe it's not true. I don't know. Vucevic, they were trying to get him. Multiple firsts were offered. We don't know what else could have potentially been a part of the trade package. I would imagine that unless they added more picks than Chicago was willing to give up, that Chicago offer was probably more competitive. You get the huge expiring contract in Otto Porter, you get Wendell Carter, and you get 2 firsts, which are more valuable from Chicago than they are from Boston, rather than Boston saying, hey, we'll take Vucevic into the trade exception. You can have Romeo Langford and 2 firsts. Unless they included 2 young players, like 2 firsts and Naismith and Langford, I don't think that the difference in value between the Celtics picks and the Bulls picks, and I know the Celtics are not great in the standings right now, but just overall, if you're looking at it, you're thinking I'd rather have Bulls picks, rather than having Celtics picks. And so ultimately, I think it would have been difficult for Boston to kind of one up that offer unless they were offering multiple young players and first, which seems a little bit rich in exchange for Vucevic. But Celtics fans, just, rumor-wise, they did give it a shot. Now, I don't know how aggressive they actually were in trying to make a move for any of these guys, but they did at least try. As it relates to Aaron Gordon, by the way, a lot of teams were trying. Portland was trying, Boston was trying, Denver was obviously in on it as they ended up with him at the end of the day. And if you're Orlando and you're a fan of them, maybe you're thinking, well, why didn't we get a better package? I think ultimately what they got in exchange for Aaron Gordon is fine. But the rumors are Aaron Gordon, and this was the case leading up to the deadline, and now we know this afterwards as well, Aaron Gordon was a very, very popular guy. Last point I want to make here is as it relates to some buyout stuff. So I kind of made the point when both Andre Drummond and LaMarcus Aldridge, it was kind of publicly revealed that they weren't going to be playing for their team. They were going to try and find a resolution. Drummond seemed like a buyout guy, and it seemed like every bit of interest that they tried or that kind of came out about Drummond was more on the part of Cleveland trying to drum up interest. It was like, oh, here's the Knicks. Oh, there's like 8 teams calling. If that was ever actually the case, then Drummond never would have been bought out, right? So it doesn't ever seem like there were ever really any all that competitive offers for either of those guys, and they both ended up getting bought out. Drummond, it looks like, is going to be joining the Lakers, and Aldridge, despite speculation he was going to be going to Miami, is now going to be going to Brooklyn. I can't imagine that anybody really made like a firm offer on either of these guys, because you would just like to have some kind of value out of them, rather than just letting them leave, unless they're just trying to do both these guys a favor and let them go wherever they want to, rather than trading them to a team that isn't that great. Like, if you're Drummond or Aldridge, would you rather take your chances on the buyout market, or would you rather be traded to like Charlotte? You know what I mean? So maybe there were a few actual real offers out there. I haven't found any evidence that was the case. Both these guys got bought out, and it looks like Drummond's going to be in LA and Aldridge is going to be in Brooklyn, and maybe we'll see those 2 teams potentially matching up in the finals at the end of the day. Who knows? But those are kind of the rumors from post-trade deadline. Obviously, for some people, it was a little bit quiet. There was certainly plenty of quantity. Maybe there weren't as many huge name trades as you would have liked. But as we get close to this offseason, with all the restricted guys and some of the limited free agency possibilities, it's possible we see a significant amount of trades in the offseason as well, potentially a lot of sign-in trades. When you're looking at just the sheer number of restricted free agent guys, Lonzo, Markkanen, Jared Allen, all those different kinds of players, it's possible that there's going to be a lot of restricted free agent sign and trades or offer sheets or anything like that. And then, of course, whatever ends up happening with guys like Oladipo and Lowry, it's going to be a crazy, crazy interesting offseason. I'll keep track of all that stuff as well as the on-the-court stuff as we approach now the postseason. Hope you guys enjoyed all the trade deadline, trade content leading up throughout the entire season. Thank you guys for all the support on it. But, that's going to be all she wrote until we start talking about off-season stuff. But yeah, that's going to be the end of the second video of the day, and I thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can leave a like rating. You can check out more videos from me me, the Boxing on Screen, as well as on the channel as a whole. And yeah, hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Hopefully I'll see you tonight, and I will see you all next time.